Hi, almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you, thank you. Continuing story, my son stole his dead mother's ring for his girlfriend. Jake called later that evening, but before he could start yelling at me, I demanded to know what the hell he was doing trying to break into my house while I wasn't home earlier. He scared his sister and she nearly called police. Jake dodged the question by being angry about me changing the locks because I don't trust him. I said, "Damn right I don't trust him. Not after what he did." Jake fired back that I couldn't just be happy for him and that if his mom was still alive, she'd have wanted him to use the ring to propose. I saw red and said that if she wanted that, she'd have willed it to him. So he began whining and saying it was all my fault. He explained exactly what Sarah said when she broke up with him, and how she called me a miser, among other things, then ranted about how I always thought Sarah was never good enough for him. I pointed out he was putting words in my mouth. I never said she wasn't good enough for him. I barely knew Sarah and I never once got in the way of him being with her till he stole the ring. He tried to deny that, but I asked him when I'd ever said anything bad about Sarah prior to the ring incident. He really sounded like he was thinking hard, but even he couldn't remember any actual time because I barely saw this woman ever while they were dating. I wasn't even aware they were dating till at least 3 months had gone by in their relationship. But that was all beside the point. What the hell was he trying to get into my house for this time? He refused to answer. So I answered for him. I said if he was after the ring, or any of the other family jewels. They've been moved to a secure, safe location only I have access to. If he was trying to break into my safe for my emergency cash fund, there's no way he'd get it open. If he was there to do any sort of harm to his sister, I'd kick his ass myself. I may have hit the nail on the head with at least one of those things, because Jake just had a long silent pause on the line. Then he told me he's made up his mind to put in for a transfer at his job and sell his condo. He wants to move as far away as possible and never speak to me again. His last words to me were to have a nice life with my favorite child. I don't understand how my son has so completely changed on this level in just a year. I never actually called Sarah a manipulative gold digger until recently. I said she had my son wrapped around her finger and she loves jewelry. Though I guess that's not all that different in the long run. But in truth, she is a manipulative gold digger. Especially after the drama act she put on to try and keep a ring that was never hers. I mean, she spent days in bed crying over a ring she knew was stolen and then had her huge tantrum at not being able to get it back or copy it. Now because of her, my son has chosen to wash his hands of me and his sister altogether. I am devastated. But at the same time furious that my son would do such things just to appease this witch of a woman he'd only been dating 8 months. That's not enough time dating before proposing. I dated my wife for over 2 years before popping the question. I shudder to think what things would have been like if that witch had married my son. I know Jake is going to blame me for a long time and I'm not sure if we'll ever speak again. I hope one day we can reconcile. But for now I think we need time apart. Amber is also very upset. She's extremely thankful I got the ring back for her, but she's just as shocked as I was that Jake has become like he is now. She's referring to him as a brute for how he shoved her aside when he stole the ring, and also calling him a simp. Whatever that means. Thankfully, she has a great support system with me and the rest of the family. Something I know Jake doesn't have right now. Multiple family members have called or messaged him to tell him off. His now former best friend even came to me to apologize. He and Jake got in a nasty fight over what he'd done. When his own best friend since elementary school didn't see things from his side, Jake cut him off too. Jake's ex-girlfriend Sarah also got in trouble with her own family. Her parents contacted me to ask for my side of the story and then apologized for their daughter's behavior. They only knew a small bit of what happened, but were appalled to hear about the way she'd acted. Like Jake, they said she used to be a much kinder person, but in the past few years she's changed so much. They are severely disappointed in her. They were also covering half of the rent to her current apartment and are now telling her that when her lease is over, they will not be renewing it with her. She can either pay the full rent herself or look for somewhere else to live. Now she's going around cursing my name and saying this is all my fault. What is it with people these days? It's like ever since all those memes about entitled people on the internet have exploded, it just made more people like them. When I was Jake's age, I only saw people like that on rare occasions. Now they're everywhere. I've seen two in the local supermarket this year even. They're spreading their toxicity like a flood on the world. I can only hope one day my son comes to his senses and finds happiness again. Whether or not he chooses to speak with me ever again, I'll hold out hope he'll one day return to being the kind person he once was. I'll start this off by asking that people please stop messaging me for pictures of the ring. I've gotten many asking me to see it for various reasons. Some even because they want a similar ring made as well. Well, I made my daughter aware of this Reddit account, and she's proud of me for doing it, but she doesn't want pictures of the ring online. That's her decision to make because the ring is hers. I don't need to question her as to why. I just need to respect her decision. I also don't like the idea of posting pictures of it because if it gets copied by total strangers, then it'd no longer be unique. I was willing to let my son copy the ring because it was a family matter, but I won't be posting it for everyone to see and replicate as they please. I've already long deleted the pictures of the ring I sent Jake, and the ring is locked away in a bank vault right now. It will not remain there permanently as I intend to get a better home safe to keep it in when I can afford it. In the past few weeks since my original post, I did have cameras installed and I'm thankful I did. For those wondering if my son and Sarah would get back together, no they did not. My son is apparently really selling his condo. He's not spoken to me since our last phone conversation where he told me to have a nice life with my favorite child after not getting his way. I have been to see my lawyer about my estate and got my will altered. I haven't written my son out, but he's lost a lot of the things he would have otherwise inherited for the time being. After having some time to think, I've realized I just can't feel remorse for Jake anymore after his actions as of late. My daughter Amber calling him a simp seems to be an apt description, once I found out what that meant. But I just don't want to be angry or sad about it anymore. Neither emotion is doing me any good. So for now I'm just going to do my best to let it go and move on. Jake seems to plan on moving on without us anyway. Hopefully in time he'll understand what he did wrong, but I can't change his mind for him. I did run into my son's ex Sarah at a random place in town. She spotted me while I was with one of my friends in the middle of the local shopping mall. She called out to me while we were in front of a bunch of people and started booing me and calling me a greedy miser. I didn't really have to say anything to her because my friend laughed at her and called her a thief and a gold-digging bitch who just wanted my dead wife's ring because she couldn't have it. I saw half the crowd turn to look at her at once when he said that. Sarah flipped us off and stormed away while cursing my name and knocking over anything in her path. This included a small child, whom started crying in an instant. When she realized she'd hurt the kid, Sarah took off running. My friend and I helped the very pregnant mother of the child in calming the kid down, and thankfully the kid was okay. Sarah showed up at my house later to yell that it's all my fault her friends are all saying she's a gold digger now, and won't hang out with her anymore. I said she is a gold digger because of what she did. She never had a right to my wife's ring, and she cried for days about it like a child, then broke up with my son just because he couldn't afford what she wanted. That's all something a gold digger would do. I'm not at fault just because she wanted my dead wife's ring so bad. And I'll make damn sure she never sees it again. What came next was more unintelligible screaming from her as she stumped back to her car. I'd hoped that was the end of it, but that girl just wouldn't leave well enough alone. For those thinking Sarah and Jake's personality shifts were due to drugs, I'm not sure whether or not to tell you I'm sorry that isn't the case. It was all them. Which in Jake's case is a harder pill to swallow because it means he has no excuse for such a radical shift in behavior. Sarah was arrested last week for attempting to break into my house. The cameras I had installed caught her sneaking into my backyard and trying to break in. She tried to break open my back door with an axe, and that tripped the alarm I had installed. She ran off, but the cameras in front of the house caught video of both her and her car very clearly in my driveway. She also left the axe with her fingerprints on it on the ground before she ran. When police got there, she was long gone, but they later found her at her apartment. They initially just wanted to arrest her for breaking my door and trespassing, but she went crazy on them and wound up getting pinned to the ground and frog marched out. This woman definitely has something mentally wrong with her. A few days after Sarah was arrested, I spoke to her parents again. They offered to pay for the broken door and then filled me in on some of the details. It seems drugs were not involved. They told me she was given drug tests at the station and her system came back clean. Since she wasn't on drugs, I don't think Jake was either, but Sarah was found to be very mentally unwell. So I guess it was just her crazy that was contagious. Her parents promised me that I'll never have to deal with her again as they plan to move her out of town once they've dealt with the legalities of her situation. They haven't contacted me again since. But I wouldn't say it's my business that they do either. I'm guessing though that Sarah likely needs major mental health treatment. So in a sense, I do feel a little sorry for her now. I knew Jake had to be aware of what happened with Sarah since everyone was talking about it, but he has not reached out to any friends or family. One of the people he works with has contacted me though, and told me Jake is still openly very angry about what happened. He still believes the ring would have been a small price to pay for his happiness. Now that Sarah has been taken away, Jake has also shifted blame onto her, saying she's the crazy gold-digging woman who ruined his life. It seems all he can do is blame, and blame other people some more. Until he accepts fault in his own actions, then I don't think we can have a relationship. He's not going to do well in life if he can't take responsibility for his own actions. I just hope that some time alone wherever he chooses to go will help him to mellow out and understand where he went wrong. This is likely to be my last update here, unless something else goes wrong. And if no new posts show up in the coming months or years, then you'll all know everything is fine. At least as much as it can be, considering the situation. Update: I did not expect to make another post on this account ever again, let alone one so soon after what was supposed to be my final update. But I was recently messaged by someone on social media using a burner account that said they had some extra details on Jake and Sarah that I didn't know. They wouldn't say who they are, other than the fact that they were someone close to Sarah. I was just hoping to put a book into the situation, and then here comes someone anonymous playing the deep-throat informant. So I can't confirm or deny any of this information I got from them. From what they told me, apparently Sarah's parents are loaded. Well, the person stated my son Jake was only still with Sarah despite her being abusive and crazy because her parents are wealthy. Meaning, he was also acting like a gold digger. They said that he needed as impressive of a ring as possible to woo Sarah with. I'm not sure I want to believe it, but it feels like it makes sense on some level. If Jake wanted to marry into wealth, then a lot of his behavior as of late really seems to fit the situation now. I can't say if all of what was said is actually true, but if it is, it would mean that my son never really loved Sarah, and it was all about money. Sigh. Isn't it always these days? But in the end, I'm not sure it would have panned out the way Jake wanted. The person who messaged me said that Sarah was the black sheep of her family, a spoiled brat with endless demands, which is why her parents sent her to live out here to work a job and have a taste of real life. She was apparently extremely pissed off at them for not bankrolling her life anymore. The person messaging me said that Sarah figured that if she got married, her parents would accept her back, but she had such a high maintenance standard for potential partners that she couldn't hold one for long. Jake was the last in a line of several. She only started dating Jake because he had his own condo. So it was kind of a two-way gold digger situation, with Jake hoping to make bank by marrying her, and her hoping to get married so she could get back into her parents' pockets. I have a hard time wrapping my head around this. All of that kind of calls into question Sarah's parents saying she was once a good kid. Maybe she was, and then went crazy in her teens or something. I don't know. This could just be someone yanking my chain for fun, or it's possibly the whole reason my son tried to rush into marrying Sarah. Either way, it's left me with more questions about my son than ever, but he isn't here to answer them anymore. So I'm just distraught about the whole situation. My daughter Amber said that she believes what this person told me, and that Jake has acted like he wanted to be rich ever since he inherited money from his mother after she passed. I think I'm going to need another day of retro gaming on my PC and some tubs of ice cream. Amber said cherry ice cream would be more fitting than vanilla this time. Not sure if that's some other modern reference I don't understand, but I think I just need a mental break. I'd like to take a vacation to the coast. I don't have the time right now, maybe in the spring. I am beyond seriously hoping this is the last update I have to post. I just want to be done with this situation. I'm going to be having Christmas without my son for the first time in over 20 years. It's even sadder that my wife is gone too, just me and my daughter now. At least my wife's extended family are very supportive, and we'll be seeing them soon on Christmas Eve.